Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton, Heather Jordan, Kat R. King, and Russ Hasledge. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and we are celebrating Aron Eisenberg. How you guys doing?
Good.
Great. It's good to be here.
Doing good.
Awesome. So today, our guest is not really a guest, but just our full and extended family, Heather, Kat, and Russ. Let's introduce ourselves, shall we? First, can you introduce yourself for us, Russ?
Hi, I'm Russ. Oh, anyway,
Right.
I started ODYSY Radio, and I'm the president of what's called the Federation, which is a charity that Gene Roddenberry and I started 35 years ago. So, and then last year I started ODYSY as a communications part of the Federation, and we've blossomed since then.
Definitely.
Awesome. And so that's what Russ does and why he's so extremely relevant to the Seventh Rule. What about you, Kat?
Well, I am Kat King. I am a Trek Tech intern for the Seventh Rule. Part of my coming on board the family was to help facilitate scheduling, contacts with the guests that we had on the show throughout the STLV convention. And that's sort of what pulled me in, but I kind of started off with Garrett's show, the attempt at the whole Alpha Quadrant show, and then sort of segued into found you guys, and that's how I became part of Seventh Rule.
Awesome. And you're calling in from LA, right?
Yeah.
Russ just told us he's in Ohio. Where in Ohio?
A little town called Huron, Ohio, which is right in the middle of Cleveland and Toledo, right on Lake Erie. Little town of like 6,500 people. One of those little seaside, lakeside things you see in the movies.
Wait, hang on a second. The town is called Huron, but
Right.
you're on Lake
Erie.
Yeah. Now, the people, I am not originally from Huron. I'm from a city not far from here called Lorain. But the people in Huron, and I don't think they realize what they're saying, but they'll say it, urine. I'm like, what? You're from urine? So I still say Huron.
By the way,
there's a town named Erie next to Lake Huron.
Yeah.
There probably is. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to say that, by the way, those of you at home that can't see Sirach, he is here. He's out in Turkey somewhere excavating the caves in Ankara. So that's why he can only do phone stuff right now. So thanks for joining us, Sirach.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
For having you. And Heather, would you like to introduce yourself for those of us that don't know you?
Hi, I'm Heather Jordan. I started on the Seventh Rule as an intern back in June because I badgered Brian until he came in. And I do
Pretty
tech
accurate.
stuff in my everyday life too, so it was a good fit.
And now she's aboard the Enterprise.
Yes.
You're calling from where?
The Enterprise, obviously.
Straight face, just.
Okay. But she usually calls from New York, somewhere in New York.
Rochester.
Enterprise, New York.
Yep. Enterprise.
So can you guys tell us, starting with Russ, please, when you first met and or encountered Aron and how this whole thing came about with him?
The pressure. I get to be first. The first time I met Aron was, I think it was one of the conventions in Vegas, 20-some years ago. Maybe not that much, maybe 20 years ago. And he was one of the guests at the Las Vegas convention. And he and Chase and a few other stars. It was Breakfast with the Stars. And they were there, and Aron was there, and his son was there, and I'm sitting at the next table over, and I could see his son. His son was actually sitting on the floor because it was a nice, casual kind of breakfast. And his son was putting scrambled eggs up his nose. That was the first time. That was the first time I met Aron. And then when I started working on ODYSY, one of the first things I did was I reached out to Aron knowing that he was kind of interested in doing a show, but the whole thing before didn't work out so well. So I reached out to Aron and said, I got a radio station and you can do whatever you want if you come on over to ODYSY. And he we talked a lot, mostly over Facebook Messenger, and he learned about the Federation and the whole background of what we do and helping people around the world. And he really liked that. And he wanted to support the Federation. And also he wanted to do a new show. And so we worked for, a couple of months.
Yeah, this was the end of last year, right? This was the end of 2018.
It was probably September-ish. And we tossed around ideas for co-hosts, and he wasn't sure if Sirach would be interested. And so he was tossing around ideas. I'm like, you tell me what you want to do and I'll try and help you. And we got it all together, and he really did a bulk of the work. He knew what he wanted. He organized it all. He got the show together, and look what he did in just a year. He's just an amazing guy because he had so much energy. His brain never stopped working. And so he would always, he'd call me. I'm the shy type. I hate talking on the phone. And, but he would call me all the time. Every day he'd be calling me.
Yeah.
And
that's
so
our Aron.
that's the way Aron liked to communicate, was talking. And so sometimes he would call me. He's on the way to a photo shoot or something, and you hear the traffic beep, beep, beep. It's like, shut up. And so he'd be interacting with the traffic while we're talking, and excuse the dog. She has lots to say. But he's always thinking, 1 or 2 times a day, he'd be calling me. What do you think of this? I'm like, ooh, that's great. And because he always had some really cool ideas. Not everything worked because, he was a dreamer like me, but he made most of everything he thought of come about. So just an amazing guy. And he was always worried that, did I go, did I step on your toes? Did I, reach without approving you, without getting your approval? I'm like, you don't have to get my approval. If something works, just go with it. But he was always worried that, he upset somebody. I'm like, I don't get upset. I just roll with it. I've been doing this for way too long to get upset. So, but he was always very active and very conscientious of what others' feelings were. A truly good guy. I mean, as good guys go, he's up there at the top.
Yeah.
No arguments there. What about you, Miss Kat R. King?
Yeah. I met Aron in Vegas years ago, but I just feel like things came together very quickly at the end of the year last year. And so it was just like this opportunity, just like Heather did, to be like, hey, look, I'm just want to be a part of this, because going to these conventions year after year, sort of growing up in that culture and getting to see like the actors as people and not as, your childhood heroes that you've seen and you've grown up with. Because I was a kid when these shows were on, when DS9 was on. I'm only 29, so I grew up with Voyager primarily.
All of us are.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And I will go to my death ending on that. But so I met him, running around, and I was really very intimidated when I was in Pasadena during Grand Slam to go up to the tables. I didn't think you could talk to them without paying. I just assumed that unless you have money, you don't get to talk to these people. Like it was that way with Aron. It was that way with Garrett. It was that way with Manu. It was that way with everybody. And I just didn't think I was welcome to speak to them. Even though I was a kid, they probably would have been like, here, come chat, no big deal. But I was intimidated, and Aron was just not like that. Aron and Garrett were just both always very friendly with the fans and just very treated us like people too. And I think that was what drew me in. And then just to have the opportunity to get to spend a little bit more time getting to know him, and that energy, that life force that he became. It was like just looked forward to. I had something to look forward to again, and being a part of something with him was just tremendously, just such a great gift. And I wish I'd been more available at times, to be available. But at the same time, he
he made us feel like we were at home on this family. Like he just made us feel like we'd always known him, like we were always part of the team. So that's one of my favorite things. I love his energy. When he's in Vegas, he's just so good. He was just so good to everyone, very attentive. And I think that I always just wanted to be that person, no matter what, no matter how busy we are. We could always just stop and make the person who's in front of you feel like very present with you. And I think that was his gift. So I hope to emulate that. And I like to think that I carry that with me, because it's just, he just has this tremendous light, and it's still burning very brightly. And I can see that as it ripples across, one man's influence and impact on so many people. I just had no idea when we were kids that he was going to be such a beacon for me. But that's what he's been. And I'm so proud to be a part, just honored, very honored and privileged. I'm also proud of the work he's done, that it continues to carry on.
Kat, do you remember your very first interaction with Aron? I mean, is it kind of, I don't know how far back it was, how many years back it was?
It was during the 50th, was like the first time that he would probably remember meeting me, like officially meeting me, because I was, and then even at the end of last year, even more so because of me running back and forth, because he wasn't seated, he and Garrett weren't seated at the same table during one year, and they were one aisle behind each other in front. And so I was helping Garrett with the Alpha Quadrant stuff, just promoting it and running around, and he kept I was sort of like this go-between of jokes between him and Garrett, just kind of sort of poking fun at each other, and just I said this and then tell Aron that, and I just got to be a part of this game, and I just thought it was so much fun that they included me in it. It was so much fun.
Sirach, I was going to say, Sirach knows all about that, but I heard you laughing. Like, you guys always had a go-between. There was no stone unturned there.
Yeah. It's like these networks, they're like little squads, and we would just sort of just pass along these little messages to each other through.
Yeah, it's fun to recruit people in your little games with each other. It's one of Aron and I's favorite thing to do.
Who recruited more people, you or Aron, into your battles?
Well, I started the recruitment process, the idea of recruiting.
You were the innovator.
I innovated recruiting, yeah. So I got the wardrobe Jerry Bono to do a little, middle finger gag on Aron. And I said, Aron, what is that over there? And he looked over and he saw this guy, Jerry Bono, with his hand behind a light screen. So it was kind of like with this light effect behind it.
The silhouette.
And it was awesome because Aron, that was the beginning of recruiting people to now participate in the game. So, and then, that's just how they were. And Garrett is naturally like that too. I know that Garrett is such a fun, loving guy, and he's really talkative, and he has, he has a lot of ideas, and that's why him and Aron kind of, got along like they did. Because there's a similarity in the kind of connections that they make.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
But it was
Sirach, if I know Aron talking about the recruitment process, he would say, "Yeah, you invented it, but I perfected it."
Right. Yeah, I'm sure he would say that. And he has gotten me a few times. He might actually lead the count. In actual numbers, I feel like I lead the count in most impactful moments. So
quality over quantity.
So I'm focused on the quality ones, and he's got more quantity for sure. So, it's a give and take thing. But one thing about Aron that stood out for me was how considerate he was of your feelings. Maybe less so than Garrett. So I made a comparison between them, but Aron on his own way would be so considerate to follow up and say, "Hey, I just said something, and I don't know if you took it the right way, or I want to be clear that I didn't mean to offend you." And he was always conscious of like whether he offended you or not. Yeah. And I thought it was interesting, Russ, when you said that he would call you. And I felt like when he would call in these spurts of like 3, 4, 5 times. It wasn't just like you talk to Aron once, you get off the phone, and then it's gone. It was like you call him, you get off the phone, then he calls you right back, say, "Hey, buddy, I forgot to tell you." And then you get off, and then he calls you back, and he says, "One more thing. I hope you don't mind, but I wanted to." and it would just be like 4 calls, and I'm like, all right, Aaron, get it all out, man. What do you want to say? Let's get it all worked out. He's like, no, I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. I really didn't mean to bother you. It's just bothering me. It just bugs me. I just want to make sure that you're okay with it. That's all. It's nothing.
And
then
that's exactly Aaron. Yeah.
Yeah. Even like at the our friend Adrienne got married, and I remember running into Aaron and Melissa, and I just love the way he treats her, and he just makes her. He always made her feel so. We always just knew that they just loved each other, and so when they were on the way to go pay their respects, to just go like say hi to Adrienne before the Night of Diversity event started, and I was just like, I'm like very, very purposeful. Just I cannot go to Night of Diversity. I cannot get the party started until I've made sure that I make an appearance. Like Max was there at the reception, there for the ceremony, which is great. But it was just so nice to see Aaron. He was so attentive to this need. He just felt like she needed to know that he was there to support them, and that their nuptials were important to him. And I thought that was special, because
for the people at home, who do you mean, Adrienne?
Adrienne Grady. She's actually just married Jesse Heineck, who works for STO, for Star Trek Online. And Adrienne was her grandfather part of Star Trek, and worked in the special effects, did some of the sound effects for the original series. And even Adrienne.
She still does voiceover work up in Los Gatos, I believe, in the Bay Area.
Yeah, they're up like in the Santa Clara, Campbell area. That's where the Cryptic Studios are, so that's where they live. But yeah, she's a wonderful person. Just been a wonderful, tremendous part of our community, and so just love that he was just like had to be there. I love that about him. It was so great, and even he was so fun because when we went to Night of Diversity, he was there dancing with us and just being silly and just part of the crowd, and it was just so nice because there's just always that barrier. People think there's this imaginary wall, and some of the actors, they do put those barriers up, but not without good reason. Some of them, but it's just so nice to see him so at ease and so just comfortable at home.
Sirach and I were at Night of Diversity too.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Sirach was like the first one there, I think.
Yeah,
I had plans for afterwards, so I wanted to get there like literally when it started.
Yeah,
and it turns out like it was just me and just 2 other people standing in an empty room. So I was like, well, I think I'm here too.
They must have loved that.
Yeah, I guess so. But it wasn't diverse. There wasn't enough people for it to be diverse.
Yeah.
But one thing that I remember about that last weekend that we had in Vegas at Creation was I ran into somebody while I was walking in and out of the hallways. It was Sarah. You know Sarah, Ryan. I don't know if you guys know Sarah, but ran into Sarah. She said, yeah, I'm having fun. I'm looking for my friends. What are you guys about to do? And I said, well, Aaron said he's going to have a dinner over here at the Chinese restaurant.
Yes, I know this story.
So I said to her, why don't you go meet us over there? I'll find out where it's going to be, what time, and I'll send you the info. So I sent it to her when Aaron told me, yeah, we're going to be at this place at this time. So I sent it to her, and she shows up, and I don't show up. And Aaron says he was busting my balls so hard about that. Where are you, Sirach? Your friend's here. Where are you? You can't invite somebody to a place if you're not going to be there.
Especially because he didn't know they were coming. They just showed up, and he was like, oh, okay. And they kind of sat down at the table or something like that. That was the infamous night with Garrett and Anthony too. It's just like you and I completely avoided apparently just a big awkward party.
Really?
Yeah, that was the same night.
Yeah, that was funny. But just the way he kept ribbing me, and it was just typical of how he would like to rib me, and I loved it actually, and I miss it. I miss those little ways that he would joke with me and try to get me to break my concentration.
Hey, Heather, can you tell us a bit about your first encounter meeting virtually with Aaron?
Well, besides watching him on Deep Space Nine, the first true interaction I had with him was probably the first time that I got on one of the free-for-alls.
Oh, yeah.
Because we started the Discord channel later, so that wasn't going yet. So I guess really my first time talking to him was in the free-for-all. Can't remember which episode it was. Their mid-20s maybe, but it was one of those. And that was before I had my green screen set up.
Way back in the day, huh? Way back when. Heather, what was the funniest thing you ever heard Aron say, whether it was on Deep Space Nine or whether it was on a free-for-all?
It's so hard to like just pick one specific memory or instance. It just kind of all like blends together at this point. It's just it's hard. It's hard to pick one. I think
we asked the tough questions here.
For me, the funniest moments, it's not really something he said. It's just you guys cracking up and, laughing at me, of course. That's the thing that sticks out the most to me is that moment. Cause I go back and watch those videos of you guys cracking up and it just makes me laugh. It makes me just sit there and laugh along with you, laughing at me. And
that's true.
I feel like he was such a real person. Like I was watching the bonus footage that they released from the documentary that they put online, where it was that scene where he's talking about what he took away or, what he left behind. I think it was that one where he says, I didn't leave anything behind. But I was watching it and I was just thinking like, that makes me feel like I'm sitting there with him again, because even when he's in those scripted moments or those like, when he's on the spot, he's always so real in how he talks. He's never fake. He's always himself, whether or not he's, doing the documentary or in the Discord or on the Seventh Rule. He always had that same way of speaking, and it just made me feel like I was watching him again, talking to me, and it made me tear up a little bit, because I'm like, it's like he's there but he's not. So
you brought something up that I think is really great. When I talked to Aron in person, you get the feel of his eyes, and he had these really expressive blue eyes that really showed his heart and his passion for things. And one of the real pleasures of being around him in person was really looking him in the eyes and feeling him connect with you. That's one of the things I think is so stellar about how he performs as an actor, because a lot of that Ferengi stuff focuses in on his eyes, where that becomes the window to Aron on the Ferengi character. And if you look at him and you look into his eyes, you really see those emotions. Even when he's being a jerk to me in the beginning of the series, and trying to school me on how to do things, that version of him is really expressive. But when he gets into the point where he's really sensitive and he lost his leg and he's talking to James Darren in the holosuite, he's giving you the full emotions in his eyes, and that's one thing he never really lost. I always felt the passion in his eyes. I always looked him in the eyes when I saw him, and could kind of gauge where he was emotionally at that moment.
Good point. Russ?
Yes, sir?
We're going to ask you the tough question now. What's the funniest thing Aron ever said or did to you?
Well, one of our first shows, he used to like to pick on my surroundings. I mean, this is my basement office. He's like, "Are you in a bunker?" I'm like, "Sure, Aron, yeah. You're in a bunker. What are you hiding from?" I'm like, "If I said I'd be dead." So he always liked my little bunker here. only because I'm up against the cinder block wall. The radio studio is nice, but I usually use this one. It's a better computer. And so he would always pick on me every time I would be on the show. And there's Russ from his hidden bunker. So, but the thing that really I think cracked me up all the time was the middle finger thing. Ciroc, did you give me the middle finger? That used to always crack me up. Ciroc, give me the middle finger. So even better than my bunker was the middle finger thing. He kept going. And, Michael Chiklis, of course. So all of those things, I think we ought to try and get Michael Chiklis on. I just do. Just even for 10 minutes.
Yeah, that would be great. He would love Michael Chiklis. I finally got Michael Chiklis on the show. And he would always joke with all of us. I mean, in our different ways, whatever it was. And it's funny that you mentioned that, Russ, because the background is one of the things that he would always pick on Homer about, or pick on Heather or Kat about. Chelsea, he would talk to me like, it feels like you're looking at me from the trunk.
Yeah.
I'm in the trunk of the car.
Oh, being in the car. Being on the car was a big one, because we were always, one of us was always in the car.
Yeah, you can't be in the car. It's good. You can't be in the car on our show. It's bad for our liability. So he was always conscious of the background. I feel like I'm talking to you. I feel like I'm in the trunk of the car, Ciroc. You're looking down at me like I'm in the trunk.
Yeah, he was the king of the running gag. He definitely liked the running jokes. Kat, what about you? Funniest or most inspirational moment from Aron, if you can?
Most inspirational. I think those moments when he was talking on the documentary. What we've all said about Aron, and I mean, I just echo it, is that he had this urgency that he just had to say the things he needed to say. And he didn't hold back, because I think somewhere in his mind, he knew if you listen to him, how lucky, how fortunate he felt to even be able to have as much life as he did, and to show that gratitude, to have the energy to get up every day, even though when things were tough. But he said, that he was just so lucky, and everything that he had because of this wonderful family. But I just think I admire that he was not afraid to cry, not afraid to show his emotions, not afraid to express everything that he was thinking, because I think that was important. That no one will ever, it could never be said, we never knew what Aron Eisenberg was about and what he believed in, because he truly lived it and he walked that walk. And I think that authenticity is what just leads me to just want to be that person, and it's very inspirational.
Yeah. I remember a funny moment the last time I saw him at Creation. He agreed to dress up in his old costume and put on the makeup. And I went backstage, they said, all right, Aron's about to go on stage, so we'll go to the green room where he's getting ready. So I went back there, and Melissa was backstage, and Aron was just finishing up the touches on his makeup, and he was in his uniform. And he looks over at me and he's like, I'm way too fat. He's like, I gotta lose weight. I can't even fit in this captain's uniform. Look at my stomach. Look at it, Ciroc. Look at me. And he would just.
Now, Ciroc, knowing you didn't say no. You said, yeah, maybe.
No, I told him, I was like, you still look good in your outfit. You look, He's like, I don't like this. I don't like this nose. This nose, it doesn't. This is not the nose I wore when I was on the show. This is a different nose. I look different. I don't look like Nog. I feel like a different Ferengi. And he was so critical of all the little elements, And it's just like, no, Aron, you're fine. It's. But he was always wanted everything to be like perfect down to the last detail. He wanted this makeup to be right. He wanted to look as the same way he did 20 years ago in his captain's uniform. And, he was just so self-conscious in that kind of a way and self-aware.
That's definitely true. And I do remember seeing him in those Ferengi skits that he would do with Max, and he looked a little different. Obviously the makeup was a little different, but he nailed the voice with or without you, Ciroc. And the
I
voice
worked with him for hours to get that voice
for
right.
7 years.
We perfected that voice.
Mm.
But yeah, no, Aron is a joy. He was a joy to us all. You know, and last night, as a matter of fact, I was just, you know, up late, and a thought of him ran across my mind and made me smile. And every time that happens, you know, it just reminds me of the impact that he made.
Do you guys have any other final thoughts? I do have a little surprise, but if you guys have some final thoughts first.
Well, I've been going through. The Federation has a whole warehouse of merchandise that we've either bought to resell or has been donated, and a lot of them were action figures, and we have a ton of Quarks, and I'm sorting them all out from all these different boxes. And every time I get a Quark, Uncle Quark, what should I do? No, so every time it's Uncle Quark, Uncle Quark. So, you know, and every time a Quark figure, I would think of that Uncle Quark. By the way, we do have one Jake Sisko, and and a bunch of ROMs and a ton of Quarks, but I didn't get any Nogs at all. At least the boxes I've opened, there have been no Nogs in there. I was really hoping for a Nog. So, but yeah, every time I get another Quark, Uncle Quark. So I say that and put him in the bin with the other Uncle Quarks. So that was kind of cool. But yes, I do have one Jake Sisko and a whole bunch of Siskos.
Oh wow!
So now that Ryan is gone, Sirach's in charge. Okay, Sirach.
Oh yeah, I'm in charge now. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan's back, but check this out.
Oh, this is the surprise. Whoa.
Oh, here's the surprise.
Oh. Now I did. Heck, I forgot what I was going to say.
Very quickly, this is our friend Darth Shuey.
What's up?
Oh,
Rocky, he's on the phone right now. He's iPhone. So, Sirach,
You guys are far from your mic, so speak it up.
I don't know if you met Darth Shuey before, but he has a unique perspective on Aron as well. Would you like to tell us about that, Darth?
Yeah. I got actually, I guess, quite a few stories about our buddy Aron. For one thing, people always at the convention, or anywhere, any kind of Star Trek thing going on, people always mistake me for him. So that's always kind of fun. Like when people are like, oh, they're getting all like, what is it, like starstruck with me? I'm like, oh, now I get it. Now I know why they're acting like it. But yeah, okay. So for one thing, the first time I met him, I was working on Cosmos, and I was trying so hard to be just like, oh yeah, hey, I'm an actor, not fanboy out on him or anything.
For those of you that don't know what Cosmos is, I just brought up the image.
Yeah, that right there. That's
of Darth and Aron in Cosmos. Let me see. So Darth is the taller one, and Aron is the more petite fellow. And they were aliens. There's his Ray. Darth, I believe, had a banana in his weapon.
Come on, that is a kid's show.
But anyway, so that's what Cosmos was. It was a sci-fi comedy. We cast Darth and Aron to be these aliens, and you shared all of your scenes with Aron, so you had the same kind of perspective that Sirach did. Did Aron ever ask you if his voice was right or what his acting was like?
I don't think so. He's really confident in his. It seemed to me really confident in his acting ability. Gosh, if anything, he was just kind of helping me out, helping me out a ton with the lines, because I had to kind of learn them on the spot. And I don't know, it just is very warm, acting wise. Yeah, he's a really warm, supportive guy, but as a person, he's just, everybody knows he's like, I wouldn't consider myself like a close friend to his, but he treats everybody like they're like family, He makes you feel, he remembers all kinds of little details, and he's just a super sharp wit. Like his improv is like second to none. When you meet him and you're talking to him, he's just like, and Well, okay. One last thing, I guess. During the premiere of what was it?
Maybe Renegades.
Maybe Renegades. I was just in the
Renegades.
audience, and Aaron, the cast, everybody, they're up on the stage, and he called me out. He's like, "Hey, I just want to do a quick little shout out to my buddy Darth Shuey, you know," and had me stand up and make me feel like a movie star for a little moment in that theater. So
It's a pretty nice moment, you know, when you have all these people on stage, all of these, you know, big time actors, and one of them is just pointing at you in the audience and saying, "Hey, I just want to say a shout out to this guy for being such a cool guy and stepping up," and it must have felt really nice.
Oh man, yeah.
What was the and I know you guys were laughing the whole time because this was a comedy and you guys had big butts on your head. You guys had big butts on your head, and so it's just a big silly thing. Were you just laughing the whole time, or was there one specific thing that cracked you up throughout for the anything?
You know, I don't think there was any really one specific thing. I mean, yeah, we were definitely focusing. You know, we had to run our lines a lot and had to, you know, we were really kind of tightening it up in the voices and everything. But you know, obviously, you know, he's a really goofy guy, you know. So, and yeah, his improv skills, he's always riffing, just boom, boom, boom. So, I mean, definitely, yeah, he keeps everything in stitches. So, yeah, he was cracking me up the whole time. It's nice that you don't really see the person's face, you know. So it's like very easy to stay focused when.
So that's pretty cool, Darth. We're almost out of time, but I did want you to come in and say a couple words, especially the fact that it made you feel like $1 million with that shout out, which was really cool because the whole theater just kind of turns around and goes, "Oh."
Yeah, it's probably one of the coolest things, like coolest experience anybody's ever like done for me. You know, to just, you know, it was like his interview was over, and he's like, "Hey, by the way, just before we go, I just want to say a quick little shout out to." So yeah, he didn't have to do that, obviously.
Well, thanks for joining us, Darth. Darth's an actor and stand-up comedian. He's about to go do some stand-up comedy right now. Yeah. So good luck with that.
Thanks.
Awesome.
That's about it. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you, everybody.
Heather looked like she had one final question for you, though.
Oh, I don't have a question. I just, I'm friends with your father.
Oh, nice. Hey, me too.
Party Bus 2020. Wait, hang on.
Party Bus.
Party Bus, Falling Tower, baby.
Your dad, he said, everyone just knows me as Darth's dad. And I said, well, I don't really know Darth yet, so I'll tell him that you're Frank's son, or he's Frank's son. So he's like, I like that.
Thanks. I'll ask him next time I talk to him.
It was a long time I talked to him, so he may not remember, but we're friends on Facebook, so.
Nice. That's where all his friends are.
It was before, it was like back right after Star Trek Las Vegas ended, I believe, that I talked to him, so. A couple months.
Cool. Nice. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on. Sure.
Yeah, I was thinking about the video that Ryan posted of you two in the costumes, and when Aaron runs into the door, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah.
The whole time.
There was one behind the scenes thing where Darth and Aaron, because you can't really see in those.
You have to have people leading you around.
And the lady's leading you, and you're leading Aaron, and Aaron walks right into a door. And he goes, I'm fine, I'm okay.
I gotta see that one.
Yeah, we put it up on our page. We'll put it up again.
Yeah, especially when you're outside, just a tiny little pebble could really throw you off.
Anyway, but thank you guys for joining us, everybody. We hope to see you again real soon on the round table. And those of you at home, always remember 7th rule.